You know, we're all guilty of putting off what we need to do to stay on top of our health, but without good health, we can't truly enjoy this precious gift of life. Joining us now is Frankie Maldonado, the Director of Operations with Lifeguard Imaging, with news about a simple and innovative scan that saves lives. So today, Frankie, we're actually talking about the 3 top myths as to why people put off getting this life-saving scan and really other medical treatments that they could really use.
It's so true. You know, there's always the reason why I don't need it, or I shouldn't get it, or it's not going to happen to me, and those are some of the myths. Obviously, one of the biggest ones is just that. So many times people say, well, it'll never happen to me, you know, I'll be fine. The number of times, Gail, that people have come into our office and a husband was dragged in by a wife or vice versa, and that person who was dragged in thinking they would be fine, something curious pops up and they're blown away. Obviously, the shock they get when they finally hear the results is pretty crazy, so it happens often.
So, and when we say coming into Lifeguard Imaging, we're talking about an innovative scan that can detect hundreds of different cancers and heart disease, and a lot of times in the early stages where there is still time to take action and live.
That's the biggest thing, is everything we're doing is trying to find these diseases in the earliest possible stage where you can fight them. Because again, the tragedy, the saddest part about these diseases is when we get the first symptom, it's a late stage diagnosis of cancer, or you're on the ground and somebody's compressing your chest trying to keep you alive. So what we're doing is trying to find these things out early. The excuses you're speaking of, we hear them all. Another one, I'm sure you've been told this as well, is people say, well, I don't want to know. You know, if something's there, I don't want to know. I can tell you this firsthand, I know you can as well because of your father. You don't want to have to go through the circumstances of dealing with the disease yourself, let alone be a loved one watching it happen to a loved one. It's a horrible thing. You do want to know as early as possible.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Frankie and I both lost our fathers to pancreatic cancer. And had Lifeguard Imaging been around when my dad was diagnosed in very late stage, it was over for him. I mean, the race to the finish line was very quick. Same for Frankie's dad. Had there been this kind of innovative technology, our dads would have lived longer lives.
They could have, and that's the biggest key. I mean, it's again about finding out early, and I know your circumstance with your dad. My dad lasted 6 weeks from the final diagnosis and he was gone, and that's just way too quick. Anybody who's contemplating and anybody who's thinking that type of fear factor, I don't want to know or it won't happen to me, it's happening to good people, innocent people who have no idea or no family history. It's happening every day. And I'll say it again, you want to know as early as possible. That's why we're hoping the people who are watching the show make these appointments, don't put it off, and obviously come in. And we're going to offer them, obviously, the complimentary heart scan to help them out.
And a lot of people, and I can understand where you're coming from on this, they think, hey, the third myth is it just takes too long. But that is not the case at Lifeguard Imaging.
No, and you've experienced it, a number of us have. The entire full body scan is about 7 minutes long. You're not in a tube like an MRI. It's an open donut that's completely open on both sides that your body passes through, so it's a real easy experience. And again, you don't have to give up an entire day. The entire process is maybe 90 minutes from the day the time you walk in and fill out your papers to the consultation that explains to you how to read your scan to actually getting your scan and walking out the door. So it's a real easy process.
Yeah, and when you make your appointment stands. It's not like you're sitting in a crowded waiting room around a lot of different other patients. You go into a clean environment. When it's your time to be called up, you're called up, you go in, it's quick, it's efficient, and the results come back so quickly.
Correct. And you know, it's one of the biggest things that we have in our office is the speed with which we want our patients picked up. Everybody's had that unfortunate experience of being in a doctor's office and waiting and waiting and moving to an office and waiting and waiting. We try to make sure the patients are picked up within a minute and they're back in their consultation. Obviously, we're adhering to all the necessary protocols for health reasons and with COVID. So every room is cleaned down after every appointment, every table is cleaned down after they have their scan, and we make sure the patients feel perfectly comfortable.
Yeah, and you know, the best story about all of this is I can tell you personally, because I've talked to them one after the next, the people who have had this Lifeguard Imaging scan, it has saved their lives, and they've come on Bloom to share those stories, and we'll continue to share them with you. But Frankie, as always, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us, Gail. We appreciate it.
All right, you can call right now, 813-524-1010, or visit lifeguardimaging.com to receive a complimentary heart scan and consultation when you mention Gail and Bloom. Please don't put this off. Nothing is more important than your health. So call now, 813-524-1010. We'll be back with more Bloom right after this.
The preceding portion of Bloom was sponsored by Lifeguard Imaging.
You're watching Bloom, presented by Lifeguard Imaging, scanning the body for early detection of heart disease and hundreds of different forms of cancer. Call now 813-524-1010 for your complimentary heart scan.